Hi, I'm Mike Meier. Welcome to my video game magazine read-through show. Today on the show, I, along with my friend J. Robert, will be doing a read-through of Game Players Volume 2, Issue 8 from August of 1990. So if you're ready, let's get started! Joining me today for my very first video game magazine read-through is none other than my friend
J. Robert. Hello, everybody.
This is his first time being on the show, just so you know.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Yeah, today we are going to be doing a read-through of Game Players Volume 2, Issue 8 from August of 1990.
Yeah, I look forward to this issue, especially what's on the cover, Super C.
And we're not going to be doing a full read-through. This is not a vlog by any means. If you want to read the magazine in its entirety, you can go download it from retromags.com, or retromags.com will direct you to a site where you can buy a physical copy.
Yeah, very good reference points.
Yeah, so if you're ready, let's say we get into it. Bigfoot. Now that's a game I have never once heard of and never played on the NES.
Yeah, I think I've definitely seen video of it on YouTube, and I think the game more or less is known for that obnoxious sound that the monster truck makes when you play the game.
Yeah, I know. It can be quite grating.
Other than that, it's a top-down racer, and I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, but if you don't want to hear that awful sound, all you gotta do is turn on your home stereo, crank up your favorite song, and you're good to go. Check it out, Revenge of the Gator.
Yeah, and Shanghai?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you have Lolo there, the representative. Kind of was Hal's mascot for a while.
That's absolutely right. And Revenge of the Gator is a pinball game.
Yeah, that's a game that I actually do own, a physical copy, and it's a solid pinballer. Yeah, I found myself kind of enjoyed by it. I got a lot of gameplay out of it. I know that.
Yeah, no kidding. And because I'm a fan of pinball and have played it on a number of occasions, virtually on the PlayStation 4, and of course in video arcades, whether it be at Nicholson Billiards or the Fun Factor.
Yeah.
And Shanghai, I've never actually heard of that game and never really got into it, to tell you the truth.
It was a take on Mahjong, I think.
Oh yeah, because of those tiles, right. And here we are, the editor's view. That was back when Tom Halfhill was the editor-in-chief of this magazine, long before Chris Slate, Mike Solomon, and Bill Donahue.
Yeah, before that particular era, yes.
Yeah, when Game Players magazine became Game Players Sega-Nintendo.
Yeah, this was a much more simplistic view as opposed to the multiple personalities we get with the aforementioned guys like Bill, Mike, and Chris down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And in this editorial, they were talking about the lawsuit Nintendo filed against Camerica and Galoob, the makers of the Game Genie.
Yeah, all that hullabaloo that happened. Yes.
Fly into action with Color Dreams. Yeah, it's one of those unlicensed third-party companies.
Yeah, I think I own one particular cartridge, the Captain Comic one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think it's a platformer. I got some, mind you, 5 minutes of play out of it, but I knew what it was about, and it seemed like a solid enough game for these third-party people to make.
Yeah, and that game, Raid 2020, I really like the artwork for it. And I gotta confess, I've never actually played any of the games made by Color Dreams on the Nintendo NES growing up.
Yeah, they weren't very commonplace or ubiquitous as others that may not get a lot of attention. Yeah, they're just ones that weren't vibrant in the market. I mean, you have your ads here and there in magazines, but not much else to go on. I find those pretty commonplace in like stores where I don't know about if there were any called Funko Lands in Canada. But I know down in the U.S. there were quite a few of them. Maybe there still are, but I know they would import like the rare third-party game developers like these or publishers, and you would see games like this in their stores, and it was great fun for collectors like to come by and complete the collection.
Dun dun dun! Genesis does.
Yeah, they're big shoehorning into the industry, trying to denounce their competition. Of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, you're not kidding about that. For all of you people who were around in the 90s for all this, I was too. How about you, pal?
Yeah, aside from the very first print ad for the Genesis, this was the real true eye opener. Ready and willing, like to take pot shots at their competition to show that their speed of the Genesis, which was very much there, and this was before. Well, this is slightly before the term blast processing came into play. So
Yeah, and their slogan, "Welcome to the next level."
yeah, so their marketing director had to be on their A game, and he decided to attack the competition, which wasn't a bad move, but may not be then again in retrospect may not have been the greatest idea. But you know, I mean it's ads like this that do exist and is legit. So I know anything to take kids' eyes off Nintendo and try something different, like this was it. Yeah, of course you had the 2-page insider, the splash page, you could say, and it shows Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, which is a fine game. I played it.
Yeah, and as opposed to the arcade version, this one is a side-scrolling platformer, if you will.
Yeah, the arcade was like a isometric top-down shooter or something, beat 'em up.
Yeah, somewhere along those lines.
But the Genesis version wasn't a bad piece of work. I mean, it gets its play. It has its moments in the game, and every level, like you have you rescuing your kids from hidden rooms and stuff.
Absolutely. From a character played by Joe Pesci in the film. And I have the movie on video cassette.
Let me guess. Was he playing Mr. Big in the show?
You bet. That would be him.
I thought. That's the only other character I know.
That's right. And it features a lot of MJ's songs, too.
Yeah, of course. Converted into chiptune tracks, which sound pretty fine for the Genesis, for their sound for the time.
And there it is, the tip sheet page. It has a lot of hidden tips and strategies for a variety of different games, such as, for example, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!, Phantasy Star, Mega Man 2, Ninja Gaiden, and Mean Streets. Oh yeah, and don't forget about Shadowgate and Super Mario Bros. 3.
Articles like these are good ways to get players' feet in the door and really make their concerns known regarding certain games, and helping other people out, and keeping the editors working overtime trying to help answer the questions.
Absolutely. And this is unlike the stuff you would see in the Game Gear Game Tips videos, if you're familiar with those, with Michael B.
Yeah, later down the road, and Game Players had their own. I suppose maybe they'll advertise them in this magazine, those VHS tapes.
Oh yeah, we will get to that later on, so don't you worry about a thing, folks. But what I'm referring to is the Game Gear Game Tips videos that were being released at Howard Johnson hotels.
Yeah, that would soon Sega would work in conjunction with the hotel chain and get Sonic through to patrons of visiting the hotel.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of those tips, they are not considered tips by any means, in my honest opinion.
Yeah, as much as they get, I guess, sort of quote unquote tips get fished around to a group of different people, and I guess I don't know, they get worked around and they become less and less of. I think it's just the whole corporate scuttlebutt of trying to figure out what's right. Basically, what they're trying to do is just sell the VHS tape, sell Howard Johnson, so tips can become secondary in nature, because they wanted to just advertise the Game Gear and the hotel.
Yeah. Enter the world of Draconian and discover these games. Draken and Chamber of the Psy-Mutant Priestess.
Draken I've heard of, not the other one, but I think these are PC titles.
They are. And you told me that Draken got released on the home consoles.
Yeah, I don't know if there was an NES port. I think there was a Super NES port, which I suppose looked too bad based on the screenshots. But screenshot seen here is a nice piece of work, I suppose.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you on that one, my friend. And here's one for all of you TurboGrafx-16 players out there. Bonk's Adventure.
Yeah, this quite set up a nice little universe for this title character, namely the mascot, more or less for the console itself. Yeah, Bonk got this game and many sequels, and great gameplay, especially this one. I played it, so like in a bubble, it's well worth your time, and yeah, great animations, likable characters and enemies, NPCs that like you work around and beat up, and yeah, it's well worth your time, especially if you ended up owning this console as opposed to a Genesis or NES or even Super NES. If this was the horse you hitched your wagon to, so this is could say the bee's knees right here. It was nice to see, going back to that last page, how animated and somewhat desperate the people at TurboGrafx would get with their ads later on in the ensuing years, with these incredulous offers because sales weren't very good for the system.
Yeah, what a drag, huh?
Such as it is. But anyway, this page right here, Indiana Jones and Last Crusade.
Yeah, it was considered a hot NES game at the summer CES, Consumer Electronics Show, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was before it became E3 in 94, 95. But they touted Indiana Jones, and I don't think it's a bad game. I think there were actually two versions of Last Crusade. I think by I could be wrong, with different developers. Use the same title. We're allowed to use the same title, but they're two different games. So one may not be as good as the other one, but I guess they're both worth your time. Maybe they advertised them both at CES.
Wow, check that out, dude. Check it out.
Yeah. I suppose in some cases prices for subscriptions aren't bad. You get so much off, like the cover price when you can pay for a single issue as opposed to getting a whole year's worth, 12 issues.
Yeah.
Some offers weren't bad. It depends on how much you wanted to pay for and how invested you were in the mag.
Yeah, if you did not want to buy a copy of the issue at newsstands.
Yeah. I think that's about 12 issues 1 year.
And here's what the page looks like without the postcard.
Yeah. Nice splash page, touts the magazine and with a single word slogan. I would encourage someone to at least flip through a few pages and maybe consider subscribing. Especially when you got Super Mario 3 on the cover. I mean, yeah, you always got to pick out the best games to put on the main page. So.
We dare you to make the journey.
Yeah,
the journey to Silius.
Which is a pretty popular enough game by itself. A lot of that has to do with the soundtrack and decent platformer game. And for those who are gaming archivists and want to know a little bit about more than what's past the game, this game's got a little bit of dimension and form that it wasn't original Journey to Silius. Some of the characters I suppose were familiar to both games, both in the characters in Silius and their previous game, which was originally this was supposed to be a Terminator game, but Sunsoft lost the rights along the way. They hit the ground running and made this alternative title.
Yeah, that was originally going to be based off of the 1984 classic, The Terminator.
Yeah, but there are inklings of familiarity in the game that make you some cinematics in this that remind you of what it originally was. Again, a Terminator game. You see some cinematics, and in the game as you play, the backgrounds, it's post-apocalyptic future, and so there are reminders in the game that it was. Again, if you want to look up the history of this game, it was once Terminator. You can see reminders that it was Terminator-esque, and the music especially lends itself to it. Maybe they didn't have to change the music, because in the final product it sounds like Terminator-esque. The way the music soundtrack, the way it sounds, especially for players who own this game, had this game in their collection and wanted to have fun with it and have good memories of the soundtrack.
Nintendo news! Check it out! Weird Science at Summer CES? And look, there's the Game Genie.
Yeah. For players, intrigued to find out like what this is and what it does, in basic terms, it's like a cheat device for your games. If you ever wanted to, try different things with that device, hacks your games and gives you many different codes, which allow you, in basic terms, jump higher, fly farther. You're invincible, invisible, limitless ammo, the usual stuff.
Or give yourself extra continues, which is what I prefer to do, because I'd rather play the game legitimately but have extra lives in case I need it, because a lot of the games that I play are very difficult.
Because Mike knows he likes to play shooters. Even in single player, he would want those extra continues.
Absolutely. Hit 'em high with Captain Skyhawk. Take the flight of your life with the ultimate air combat game.
Intriguing title. When you play, it's got that pseudo 3D perspective. It's top down, but it's it's like quarter top down. Well, it's again, it gives you the illusion of 3D. It's a vertical shooter, and based on screenshots and what I've seen on video, like it looks like a game that's intriguing enough, and you can get at least 20 minutes of gameplay out of it and see how you like it from there.
Yeah, I've never actually owned Captain Skyhawk, but if I ever do find it at GameQuest, I would definitely love to own it and maybe consider playing it. Who knows?
not just have it as a centerpiece in your collection.
Or hit 'em low with Cabal.
Mm-hmm.
Get down and dirty in the toughest war game around.
Deceptively tough game. This is one of the very few games I still to this day struggle to be at least try to be professional at, because there's a lot to the game in terms of survival. And you could almost take my word for it. It's like challenging enough and well worth your time. If you want a challenge, 5-10 minutes of gameplay, you feel like the challenge is coming, and you sometimes feel overwhelmed. But that's just the style of gameplay. It's a tough learning curve. Again, just a game I like to master, but a well-deserved fun title though. The arcade Cabal is fun though.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree, but I had no idea that it was an arcade game at one point.
Yeah, it was maybe.
Now that you mention it.
Yeah, I remember it being the original was an arcade, and the NES port is all right.
And in Nintendo news, check that out.
Yeah, Konami's Laser Scope.
Where you can control your vehicle or the character on screen by simply talking into a microphone.
Yeah, and after what I've seen on YouTube and things, it actually works. It actually stands the test of time somewhat.
Which is more than I can say for a bunch of other third-party peripherals.
Yeah, the speed board.
And a few others too. Atomic Robo Kid. I actually tried that out on the Sega Genesis. I have it on the Mega Ever Genesis cart, which a friend of mine gave to me just last year.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, if there's anything you want to try, those EverDrive carts are good if you good to get your hands on it, and try not that commonplace titles like these. I don't think this was I don't know how often this got around to people.
I've actually played a bit of it, and you can definitely tell it's very difficult to get through.
Yeah. Decent challenge, not a frustrating challenge.
In a way, yeah. And it was made by a company called
Treco, or Traco, people behind a Street Smart fighting game, which wasn't too good. So if that's anything to go off by, maybe the challenge in this is a little frustrating. But you played it, so but you don't think it's too bad.
New titles for the Game Boy, but we're only going to focus on at least a couple of them. And those ones would be WWE Superstars, back when it was known as the WWF, World Wrestling Federation.
Yeah, I think the first Superstars game, there were two of them. I think the first one holds up, but I heard the second one was very good. I think it's widely considered the best WWE Game Boy title overall, even ones that came out on the Color in advance.
Oh yeah, Ninja Turtles Fall of the Foot Clan. It took me numerous tries to get through the game, but I managed to beat it.
Yeah, it's a solid title. I like it. Yeah, whenever binge play Ninja Turtle games, this one's always on the list. So I'll play it for the story. It's a nice simple story, and control is definitely responsive, and that really lends itself to the challenge of the game, which is decent.
Yeah, and the mini games that it has, very difficult to get through.
Yeah, little parlor games where you get a chance to get extra energy. It's like playing games with Krang and Shredder, and
Yeah.
hidden places in the game.
And trying to beat Shredder can be a royal pain in the neck. I had to find that out the hard way when I was a kid playing it on my Game Boy. Here it is, another Sega Genesis advertisement. And check out all those games they got up there.
Yeah, not a bad selection. I was like, most games that came out in 1990, that definitely still hold up today.
Yeah, Thunder Force 2 I've played, very difficult to get through. I haven't played Forgotten Worlds as of yet, but maybe I will, who knows. Super Monaco GP, yeah, I definitely played that just for a little bit, but I couldn't master it right off the bat. Maybe I will one way or the other. Truxton, holy Hannah, is it ever difficult.
Yeah, I played a lot of that. Played quite a bit of that game myself, and it's a challenge. Certainly is there. It doesn't take long to get to that destination, and but it's well worth your time. I mean, gameplay is great. I mean, it's one of those games you can just jump into and play, and you definitely feel empowered, especially when you pick up upgrades for your weapons and lasers and like the green lasers and the red, and they all do great damage, and it offers a lot of variety. Depends on how you want to play, what weapons you want to use.
I've also played Revenge of Shinobi, but did not get far in it.
Yeah.
Altered Beast, I beat it.
Solid title, yeah.
Golden Axe, same deal.
Yeah.
Space Harrier 2. Super Hang-On, I was able to get as far as I could in that one, but Super Thunderblade, I managed to get far in it when I was playing it on my PlayStation 4 as a part of a Sega Genesis game compilation. Mm-hmm. Same goes with the PS3, Xbox 360, as a lot of those games were released for modern-day consoles.
Yeah, game compilations, and right, yeah. Especially the mini Genesis and the mini consoles that have 50 or 60 games installed into it. I own one of those.
If you're a fan of the beverage 7-Up, this one's for you. Spot, the computer game.
Yeah, it's like a puzzler where you match pieces and try to eliminate them. Like whether you're white or black, and they got animations in the game when you eliminate pieces. Spot does his little dance, and yeah, it's one of those games that it's well worth some of your time. Should keep you entertained, and especially if you like the character on TV when he was popular. So
yeah, as he appeared in a huge slew of commercials. I actually played that game on my PS4, as this game was released for said console as a part of the Arcade Archives line.
Yeah, the
Astianax?
Yeah, I don't know. Kind of makes you think. Yeah, you had the arcade game and the NES port. I was actually deciding myself which happened to be the most commonplace or the most popular. If more people played maybe the NES title over the arcade, but both are solid games. Yeah, I didn't realize Astianax was actually an arcade title till way down the road. I thought it was the NES game by itself, but that's a solid title too. I own it, physical cartridge, and you got great cinematics that remind you of the Ninja Gaiden games that have their cinematics. Decent gameplay, great graphics. I mean it's very very likable, and the monsters are imaginative, and they do their thing, and it's the developer
It was developed by Jalico, the same company that gave us the Russian Beat series. Case in point, here in North America, it was Rival Turf, Brawl Brothers, and the Peacekeepers.
Yeah. But before that was Astyanax, and great title, and if you decide to just straight up buy it for however it was at the time, $40-50, you can't say no one will blame you. And the publishers and the people behind the magazine thought a two-page splash was if that game was definitely worth it. So
check it out. Another title released for the Sega Genesis, Target Earth, which in actuality is called Assault Suit Lanos.
Mm-hmm.
I have that on my PS4 too, but I'm hoping to find a copy of the cartridge for my Sega Genesis. As the one that I have on the Mega Ever Genesis card, it won't work.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good title, too.
Yeah, I played the version that was released for PS4, and holy Hannah, is it difficult. The controls are very tough to get the hang of.
Yeah.
It's time for some arcade action with Galaxy Force and Smash TV.
Yeah, Smash TV, a game I've definitely heard of, and I've seen in the arcades. Not so much Galaxy Force.
I actually played it when I was living in Kamloops. I stopped by the Fun Factor arcade, and it had the sit-down cabinet.
I recognize the HUD and the screen. That looked familiar to me. I've seen in other clips, but yeah, gives you the illusion of 3D, and appealing enough title. It wouldn't surprise me if it got its own interactive cabinet with the hydraulics and everything.
Actually, the one that I was in at the Fun Factor, it was not, I repeat, not one of those cabinets. The one with the hydraulics in it.
Yeah.
It was similar to the one that they had for Road Blasters, or, if I remember correctly,
just
Hard Driving.
Oh yeah, just the stationary. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Smash TV. That's actually a fun game to play, but very difficult to get through. You have a huge gaggle of enemies coming at you.
Yeah, something you wouldn't. You'd probably have to save your allowance money for a couple weeks if you even want to, see your way to Mutoid Man or get through a small chunk of the game. Yeah, it does come thick and fast in this, and it's a tough learning curve. And it's nice to know how you use your weapons, how often you use them, conserve them, especially when waves of enemies come in, and it's just knowing your game and having to play through it multiple times just to get some decent play out of it.
Golgo 13 is back in the Mafat Conspiracy.
Yeah, I own this one. I was intrigued to find out how the sequel would hold up and how it plays. Mind you, I've only played for a few minutes because I got into one of those labyrinthy those sections of the game, and I was just getting lost, and I could have taken the time to plan out a map or something, but I didn't get much more gameplay out of it than that. I know it's probably a decent title. I think is a step up from the original, but it was nice just to pick it up anyway because I'm somewhat of a fan of the Golgo 13 anime, and not so much. Maybe it's not. Maybe more the manga. Manga is more popular. I don't know about the anime, but I know it's got a wide fan base, and something. It was just something to try. I'm glad to own it and figure out what it's about, and it gets decent play, I think.
Put Gotham City in the palm of your hand. New from Sunsoft, Batman for Game Boy.
Yeah. Again, another good, solid hit. A game worth having in your collection if you're a collector and just want to play it. See, it's a platform that definitely holds up. It's its own little universe where you can definitely get some decent play out of it. You have a multitude of weapons and how you want to play it, and the enemies are plentiful, and it's not frustrating hard. Like there are moments where it gets difficult at times. There's one particular auto-scrolling section, but that's later on in the game. Like the first few levels, you can have your way with, but along the way you will get challenged. But once the challenge is done, you feel refreshed.
Sega Genesis Tidal Wave. And check it out, they're actually showcasing a scene from the arcade version of Michael Jackson's Moonwalker.
Yeah, it's a game I downloaded. I've yet to actually try. No, correct that. I might be mistaken. It might have been the real Ghostbusters 3-player arcade. But a game like this, if I hadn't downloaded, I probably wouldn't be too far behind because I think it's, I don't know, a solid enough title based on the game screen.
And at Sega's area at CES, they were talking about a lot of the titles that were being released for the console.
Yeah.
And they also make mention of Phantasy Star 3, Dynamite Duke, Strider, Columns, Sword of Vermilion.
A game like Moonwalker Arcade would probably get a decent port on the Genesis. So you have like 2 Moonwalker games for Genesis.
Check this out.
Power Glove.
Yep, everything else is Child's Play.
Everything else is just bad, and this is so bad.
Yeah, Lucas from the movie The Wizard.
It's like Lucas bad.
Yeah, you could actually use that for playing the game Rad Racer, which I currently own for the NES.
$10 rebate. Not bad.
And now more Sega Masters. Accolade and Activision and Color Dreams were releasing games for the Genesis, not just the Nintendo NES. And the same can be said with DreamWorks, Electronic Arts, Kaneko, Micronet, Namco, you name it.
Yeah, a lot of publishers wanted to make themselves known, not just to prove to Sega they can make decent titles, but to the consumers as well. To put faith into these people and to buy their games and like them.
Whoa, Columns, nice. I've become a bit of an expert at playing it.
Yeah, whenever I see Columns, most of the time it just makes me want to just play Tetris or something. Like I respect Columns for its originality and what they did and its own unique element. Its own little how should you say it? Its identity. I would invest more time into Columns in the future, but for me it's just mostly like Tetris. You play any other puzzle or you play Tetris or something. But I know that's kind of lacking depth. I mean, you should like different kind of titles, but I respect Columns enough to know it stands on its own. It's got a good fan base.
Hey, they also made mention of Sage's Creation, in addition to Seismic, Video System, Traco, Tengen, Technosoft.
Yeah, it's all Sega scooping up the devs and publishers that Nintendo hasn't eaten up. In their corporate fold. Just so Sega can have like a decent get a decent lineup so they can stay viable against the competition and based on the names you mentioned, I think they've gone to do just that for even in 1990 when the system was barely a year old, the Genesis anyway.
Here it is, folks. Turbo Players, Turbo Express, and new games.
Yeah. NEC's Turbo Express.
A portable handheld version of the TurboGrafx 16.
Kind of reminds you of the Game Boy in some ways.
Yeah, where you can play a lot of the game cards that were being released for TurboGrafx 16 on there.
Yeah.
A small portable handheld. How cool is that?
Yeah, kind of an early, how would you say, forerunner or to the Genesis Nomad.
Yep, that's right. And check it out, they're showcasing scenes from the game Splatterhouse and a few sports titles, which of course we're not going to be covering. But you gotta admit, Splatterhouse is a fun game to play, even though I've never once played it.
It's fun enough to play it, you want to stay away from it. I'm not deserving enough to play it. No, I know what you mean. But yeah, it's on its own, it's fun, and of course you get by like the fact that Rick is wearing like a Jason mask, but he's colored red to cover it up, but other than that, it's a strong enough title. I mean, you look past it, it's a good enough port.
I really wish that I owned a TurboGrafx 16. It would have been so much fun to play, but I never really got into playing it. It just slipped under my radar.
Yeah, there just wasn't a lot of well, there was a decent amount of marketing actually. The ads in the magazines were admittedly flashy enough, but they showed very few screenshots. It was more just a splash page of different doodads and whatever, but they rarely show the strength of the magazine through their games, rarely. So it was just one of those disjointed ads that had some of the toppings, but not all of them. Like you had, you know what I mean? Just it wasn't all a complete package. I mean, they hyped the system up so much with their text and everything, but once you look past that, if you don't have the screenshots to prove the system's superiority, supposedly, it's kind of a deal breaker.
Wow, check out a lot of the games that are going to be released on TurboGrafx 16. There was Valis 2, Last Alert, Psychosis. Wow. Those are some decent games. I've seen a few playthroughs of it on the internet, on YouTube.
It looks like you got a Fist of the North Star title there. Looks like Kenshiro.
Yeah, but that's Last Alert, just so you know.
Yeah, I never... But, yeah, you're probably right. I'm just checking out the details.
And now it's time to go off on an Atari Safari. More games for the Lynx. Another handheld, which is nothing like the Turbo Express or Game Boy or Game Gear.
Yeah, trying to tap into that, take advantage of the hardware with the color, with the decent color palette, and looks like we have Rampage up there.
Yeah. I gotta confess, I never actually played the Atari Lynx, or even got into playing games on that console, whether it be Rampage or Rygar or any of those games.
Yeah, there are a couple standout titles that really push the hardware to its limits, but most of them are just the rehashes of classic early '80s titles like
It's time now for the Nintendo Game of the Month Super C. Check it out.
Yeah, a game, highly touted title, well worth having in your collection. I got the physical copy, so I should know what this game is all about, and played through it multiple times, and a great time investment each attempt you play. So yeah, it's good all around. Challenge is good. Gameplay. I mean, Konami did a fine job. And the game was good enough by the publishers of the magazine that it got a decent walkthrough.
Absolutely. And check out all that stuff on this page. Wow.
Yeah. First 2 levels. I think we played through this game together before, haven't we?
Actually, I think we've played the first game, Contra, and I'm not exactly sure if we've played Super C yet.
Yeah.
But if we haven't, we really should consider playing this one. And from what you told me, the game has a number of good boss battles.
Yeah. A fair, decent challenge. I mean, the game picks up as you go and as part of the normal rate. And, you find yourself facing unique bosses, as was the case. Konami always did a creative job, especially in the later parts of the game where you battle alien-esque enemies, and one, I think, go inside alien's stomach, stage 6. And a very creative effort, and I think it really lends itself to having a good fan base because of it. It was a complete package, so yeah.
I definitely have to agree with you on that. Check out that boss up there, dude.
Yeah. The penultimate guy, the gatekeeper. And bosses 6 and 7. That take you into the alien's lair.
And there it is, the final boss. Kind of reminds me of something seen in an art book done by H.R. Giger, the guy who did the designs for the Alien movies.
Yeah, I think... that's the thing about some of the creativity. Not all of it can be considered original if you really look at the source material. I think this game really lends itself a lot to the Alien movies, and I would suppose Konami took a decent amount from that, but try to make it an original title with the animations and the foes and stuff.
At one point, Konami made an arcade game based on the second film in the franchise, Aliens.
Yeah, which is an okay game. I seem to like it.
And now it's time for a Nintendo review, Skate or Die 2. Have you played this one before?
Yeah, I have. I think I rented this game at one point. I like the cover on the front. Man, it's skateboarding inside a mall. It looks like, but as far as the game goes, I don't think it's the greatest package. I mean, it's got its bells and whistles. You got cinematics and decent gameplay if you're a fan of the first Skate or Die game. I guess if you got used to the gameplay there, it kind of lends itself to this game as well. Yeah, just one I've never really perfected. I got to the second stage, the mall, but I didn't even know what the objective was, or I know what you had to do now. You had to run errands inside the mall, but as far as gameplay goes, it was a bit of a curve. I mean, find out what you had to do. You had to collect certain items like tacos and CDs, and talk to NPCs, and find out what's going on. I feel like, again, if you watch the cinematics, it's actually kind of interesting because kids build a skate park, attempt to build a skate park, but the mayor's wife like shuts it down and creates a whole bunch of edicts and things in the city to prevent kids from having fun skateboarding. And it's if you want to invest in the storyline, great. Maybe I think they're a fair fan base of people who have played this game in a bubble. Like it's likable enough, but maybe for kids playing today, you're gonna struggle through some of it, especially when you're trying to tackle some jumps on the board. And it's a tricky platformer, but I suppose it's in a weird way, it's kind of rewarding once you get around the learning curve.
And here we are, Game Boy reviews. And check it out, they're reviewing Cosmo Tank. I've heard a lot about this game, but I've never gotten around to playing it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the gameplay is exactly. It's kind of like you're inside a tank, you're kind of moving around like forward and back, almost like in a 3D pseudo perspective. That's what I know. I haven't really played this. I heard the name of the game and seen screenshots, but not enough to get me invested into playing.
And for those of you who are fans of the Metal Gear series, this is a review of Snake's Revenge.
Yeah, I suppose unique title, but I think it's particularly one that doesn't hold up quite as well, especially for the diehard Metal Gear fans, I suppose, because it wasn't a true sequel according to the the universe's creator, Hideo Kojima. He reportedly didn't like this game. I think it's kind of like maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but like American produced. Like it wasn't made in Japan. It was just made for the North American audience, I think. And over here they wanted to be the true sequel to Metal Gear, but again, Kojima didn't like it because I guess it didn't hold the true essence of what Metal Gear was. But it's a decent enough title. I own it, and I got decent play out of this and the original Metal Gear. So by itself, it's interesting enough. Great in the time if you're kind of as kids back then, we were oblivious to like what the Metal Gear universe was. But if you're familiar with the first game, you think Snake's Revenge is just like the first, and you might have been at the time invested in this game, but over time it doesn't hold up because of what the creator says and how it's kind of revealed to players over time. That's less than thou.
And here's the NEC reviews. Devil's Crush. It's a pinball game designed for home consoles. And because of how much of a fan I am of pinball, I would have loved to play this if I had access to the TurboGrafx 16 or the Turbo Express.
Yeah, it's decent pinballer, along with the sequels in the Devil's universe. There's Devil's Fury too, I think. And I'm not the greatest fan of pinballers. I played my share, but I think aside from that, this is a solid title, and it's got a very good fan base, I think. perhaps this one as well. And yeah, great graphics, great animations. I suppose it's one of the ones that that come close to like playing like an actual pinball tale for the time. So so I yeah, again in a bubble, it's a decent title, I think.
And here's a preview for Dirty Harry: The War on Drugs. It's a game that was based on an R-rated movie franchise, and it's a big surprise to me that a lot of R-rated movies got video games and action figures like Rambo, Terminator, RoboCop, Predator, Alien, you name it.
Yeah, I think like there wasn't a huge specific, I don't know how you say, like targeted audience that wouldn't both like play the game and then go and watch the movie and get all crazy or everything. I think we can see at the time how games like these R-rated movies lend itself to games. You take again games like Dirty Harry and RoboCop and very there wasn't a lot of questioning. Like if it was good enough to be a hit movie, it was good enough to be a game on the NES or SNES. So there wasn't much questioning about it, but we could see how views change and see how times have changed and things are different. And we look back on that now as as gaming archivists and think about what was at the time and what it took to sell games. And again, it just takes that simple thought process and realizing that it's about selling games and content, no matter what graphic, no matter how graphic, it's just second nature as long as you can sell titles on the game consoles.
And finally, we made it to the last page of the magazine. Be a winner with Play to Win game tapes from Game Players. Except no substitutes.
Yeah. Game Players that had their well, if you ever find out the characterization and the individual character essence, you could say, like Game Players' identity can be found within these tapes and how they solve problems and what the tips and tricks are all about. I think you can find a lot of their identity in these VHSs and what goes on and how tips and tricks are laid out in these videos. So it's a nice little nugget to find out how Game Players holds these views.
Created by real game players for game players. That's an interesting way of
yeah. Get your marketing across. That's important. Sell you on the tapes, especially if you didn't always have a magazine in your hand and you felt the VHS was the best format. This was the go-to thing.
Uncanny Action. The Uncanny X-Men for the Nintendo NES, which is nothing like the arcade game that Konami released.
But we certainly wish it was.
Exactly, and it was made, of course, by LJN.
Yeah. One of the. We talk very highly of this magazine, but this is. It's probably a reason why this gets shifted to the back of the mag. It's a very subpar title, and no matter what enjoyment you get out of it, taking the rose-colored glasses off, you can tell this game doesn't hold the test of time. But it's a unique piece of history for those who want to study LJN, and believe us, there's not a lot to study on if you want to study LJN. They can be described in one word, maybe a few words, but definitely not the greatest publisher, and perhaps that's taken them lightly. But X-Men you can mostly stay away from.
The world's first 220 mile per hour video game, Turbo Racing.
Yeah, I suppose that's one title that tries, or should be, if you're trying to make a racing title, like devs and publishers want it to be in a attempt to make it the same vein. Is that too wordy? You want me to talk it in?
Yeah, as some Outrun or Pole Position.
Or I'm thinking Rad Racer, games like that.
Yeah, that too. But anyway, that's pretty much it for our look at Game Players, Volume 2, Issue 8 from August of 1990. Special thanks to my friend for appearing on the show with me.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of my Video Game Magazine read-through show. I hope you enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you guys again in the next one. Take care and bye for now.